Welcome to the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast, where it's all about turning your unique talents and perspectives into a viable business. And now, your host, Paris Hamilton.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast. This is episode number 16, and I'm your host, Paris Hamilton. I'm here alone today, so there's no interview or co-host, but we're still going to have a nice chat on this episode. So in this particular episode, we're going to talk about growth strategy and dealing with competition within an industry. The way that I'm going to do this is that it's mostly going to be a high-level book review of a book that I went through called Blue Ocean Strategy. So who's this episode for? It's for current business owners who essentially feel like they are struggling to compete with bigger players in their market. So competing for more market share, and not sure what to do or where to look. It's for anyone with a business idea who is ready to jump into launching their business, maybe even into what you think is a crowded niche, such as marketing, personal training, food trucking, blogging, or even an area like business or life coaching or nutrition coaching, something like that. So the answer to this lesson is one that I was introduced to by Tony Robbins, who is, of course, like America's life coach and a New York Times bestselling author. Now, Tony introduced me to Renee Mauborgne, who is the co-author of the book that I'm going to review, along with W. Chan Kim of the best-selling book Blue Ocean Strategy: How to Create Uncontested Market Space and Make the Competition Irrelevant. Apparently, it sold over 3.5 million copies across 5 continents, so clearly it can't be that bad, right? So I'll essentially give a Cliff Notes or executive summary version of what the book is about. If you like the overall picture of the book and you think it's applicable to where you are in your entrepreneurial journey right now, then I would suggest that you go out and get the book and read more in depth. I highly emphasize the part where I say if it's important or applicable to where you are in your entrepreneurial journey right now. I am a huge fan of reading books that are applicable in the moment, so that you're more likely to act on the information and use it. But the overall book is split into 3 parts. Part 1 is Blue Ocean Strategy, so essentially what it is and what it looks like. Part 2 is Formulating Blue Ocean Strategy. And Part 3 is Executing Blue Ocean Strategy. So I'll start off with Part 1, of course, because that makes the most sense. So the strategy of seeing what your competition is doing and trying to duplicate what they are doing is essentially what the author calls the red ocean strategy. It is the competition-based strategy that essentially floods the market today. You can see it in any major corporation, how they are obviously competing for smaller changes to differentiate their products from one another. A good example is the car industry. The commercials come on all the time advertising things that maybe 2 additional miles per gallon compared to their competitors. I actually like the way the authors summarize it as cutthroat competitions turn those red oceans blood red. I think that's a good way to remember what the red ocean strategy represents. So in contrast, the blue ocean represents untapped markets, and the blue ocean strategy is to differentiate yourself. So defining untapped markets within your area and using that information to capture more market share. The authors discuss the cornerstone of the Blue Ocean strategy as value innovation and how that is created in the region where a company's actions favorably affect both its cost structure and its value proposition to buyers. So the buyer value aspect of this is lifted by raising and creating elements in the industry that have never before been offered. Now, there are some wonderful stories of this strategy being implemented, such as in the opening of part one, the authors tell of how Cirque du Soleil essentially created a blue ocean in a declining circus industry by not competing with big players like Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. So the second chapter of this book is what gives you the tools and frameworks to implement in your own business. It gives you the right questions to ask of yourself and your business to get you thinking differently about your business and what you have to offer to your customers. Because at the end of the day, it's really all about how you transform the lives of the clients and customers that you have. So we have a framework called the strategy canvas, and it's about understanding the current environment of competition in your market. So it's about understanding where your competition is investing, the factors the industry competes on, and what customers currently receive from the existing offerings. There's also a 4 actions framework that's shown. There's also an eliminate, reduce, raise, create grid that's given, which forces you to ask certain questions and act on those questions in order to create a new value curve. So this leads into part 2 of the book. So in the first part of the book, the authors discuss what the strategy is and some of the frameworks that are used in the strategy, which gives you a bunch of questions to ask. That's really what this book is about, giving you the tools or the questions to ask in your own business. So in part 2, the authors discuss how to actually create uncontested market space across diverse industries. It teaches you how to make the competition irrelevant by looking across the 6 conventional boundaries of competition to open up commercially important blue oceans. One part of this section forces you to look at various paths in order to really determine how you're competing. So it's getting business to look across alternative industries, across strategic groups, across buyer groups, across complementary product and service offerings, across functional emotional orientation of any industry, and even across time. So if you dig deep into this, you really get a feel for how various factors can have an effect on the amount of market share that you capture in your own business. You see how even if someone's product isn't a direct competitor to you, maybe they offer a product that alleviates the same problem for your intended customer. Another part of this section that I find important is the chapter on reaching beyond existing demand. This is an important concept to understand because many business owners don't look this far. They stop at the current demand and end up limiting the overall value to the customer. This section shows you how to think beyond your current customers to various tiers of non-customers. Once you understand why non-customers are not interested in your product, you can begin to find the commonalities that might bring them into your market. This part is still about the discovery phase of creating a blue ocean. You absolutely have to do the research before trying to offer something new and different. The book also offers some strategic advice on a specific sequence of events and thoughts that you can follow in order to make your chances of success better. Some of the stories in this section include talk about the Home Depot and the home improvement space, NetJets offering the best of commercial travel, and private jets, and reducing everything else to create a multi-billion-dollar blue ocean, among some other good case study type of example stories. So this leads into part 3. This third part of the book is about the various principles that drive effective execution of the strategy. So it's the part where you've already done the research and read about the strategy frameworks, so you're now ready to implement. What should you do? So this part of the book goes through things like initially overcoming organizational hurdles, such as cognitive hurdles, limited resources, motivation of key players, and business politics. Essentially, how do you get everyone on board with implementing a new and different strategy and why it's important? Not everyone, more so in larger organizations, will be on board with this idea. So it will be important to get not only your leadership in alignment, but also your employees. If you want, and I'll quote this from the book, any strategy to be successful and sustainable, an organization must develop an offering that attracts buyers. It must create a business model that enables the company to make money out of its offerings. And it must motivate the people working for or with the company to execute the strategy. End quote. So there's discussion of how you need a value proposition, profit proposition, and a people proposition in order to achieve strategy alignment within your organization. There's a part of the book that discusses how you should realize that creating a blue ocean is not a static thing. As you are successful in your strategy, more and more competitors will jump into the space that you created and turn it into a red ocean. You then have to decide when is the best time to maybe reevaluate your market and your product portfolio and determine whether or not you should create another blue ocean. The book essentially wraps up with a section on how to not fall behind or how to not fall back into the red ocean traps. It addresses various misconceptions of the blue ocean strategy and what it means to create blue oceans, all in hopes that you avoid these pitfalls. So I don't actually want to go into many specifics, but some that I particularly like is red ocean trap number 7, which is the belief that blue ocean strategy is the same as innovation. And red ocean trap 2, the belief that to create blue oceans, you must venture beyond your core business. I think the authors do a good job of explaining why thoughts like these are not true. The blue ocean strategy is about creating value innovation, not just pure innovation. So there's an emphasis on the value aspect. Someone can come up with an innovative and original idea, and like the author said, it could win its researchers a Nobel Prize, but it might not create value or create and capture a blue ocean. The goal is to ultimately create value for your customer and potential customers, and the blue ocean strategy gives you a framework and the right questions to ask in order to do just that. So if you're at a stage of your business where you have gotten started, maybe gotten some good sales, but maybe you're in a place where you're fighting for market share, I would suggest you give the book Blue Ocean Strategy a read and see if that helps you think differently and move in a better direction with your business and make your competition irrelevant. The appendix of the book gives some great historical examples of blue ocean creation in various industries, like the auto industry, the computer industry, and the movie theater industry. So definitely check those out and be inspired by the stories of those who came before you. So I'm going to move away from the book for just a moment, just to talk a little about competitive advantage and things that are not necessarily in the book. And one of the things that I want to touch on is the importance of brand recognition in creating a competitive advantage. I do realize that there are various ways to create a competitive advantage, like trade secrets, patents, a stickiness factor, price advantage, and other things. But right now, I just want to solely focus on branding. So to kick this discussion off, I'll give you a somewhat short story, not really even a story, but maybe even something that you've encountered in your own life. But have you ever gone to a store, let's say a grocery store or a clothing store, and you found what you were looking for, but there were different brands that offer your particular product? And the one you end up choosing was the one that had the brand recognition that you trusted the most. So maybe you picked up Tide laundry detergent instead of some unknown brand, or maybe you picked up Dawn dish soap instead of some unknown brand, or maybe you chose a clothing brand that you like instead of somebody that you didn't know. Now, some people will choose to see a movie just because of the director or the producer or even one of the actors or actresses within the movie, even if they don't know what the movie is really about or if they will even like the movie. In those cases, the individual is the brand. They have done so many good works in the past that their name is recognizable and speaks for itself. If we get a good sample from someone or some company, we are more likely to buy their product because we consciously and subconsciously found the experience to be pleasurable. A quote by Jeff Bezos, who is the CEO of Amazon, says, "A brand for a business is like a reputation for a person. You earn reputation by trying to do hard things well." End quote. Now, the brand is something that is not necessarily quantifiable and something that is typically ignored in smaller businesses and amongst some solo entrepreneurs. Or if it is a focus, it's typically on things that might not matter a whole lot, such as what the colors should be. But building a strong brand is not something that happens overnight. And I think that's a factor that discourages a lot of people. We are a society that craves instant gratification. We want everything now, now, now. But to build a strong, recognizable brand takes time, hard work, quality, and consistency. You have to build trust with a customer. This is extremely important. You want more market share? Build trust with your customer. Go figure out if your customer trusts you, and if they don't, why not? When you understand the problem, you can start on the right path to the solution. Trying to tackle a problem that you don't fully understand can not only take you a very long time, but you might not even end up at the right destination. Another thing that you could do is to get brand advocates. Not necessarily affiliates that you would pay, but people who just love your product and go out and share the product experience with others just because they love the product so much. So put your product in the hands of a few and create raving fans. Let them talk about your product to someone else. If you just have a customer, then they will leave you when the next big product arises. There is an idea of creating 1,000 true fans by Kevin Kelly that you can easily type into Google and learn more about. But those 1,000 true fans, if you can manage to create them, can be very beneficial to your business and potentially bring in new customers. So just to summarize the summary, you can either try to grab market share by making a small improvement on a product, which might not work very well if you're playing in a market against anyone with a strong brand recognition, like you're creating a new soda, but you're competing against Coca-Cola type of situation. Or you can use this line of questioning and thinking that the Blue Ocean strategy outlines in order to really dig deep into the underlying factors of the competition in your market and how to create some value innovation and make competition essentially irrelevant. So with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up this episode. I hope that somebody out there found this episode helpful. If you have anything to share with the community that I may have missed or something that you think would be helpful to add, definitely head over to the website and leave a comment on this particular episode, which is episode 16. Before I do sign out, I definitely want to let you know that I'm looking for some more entrepreneurs to feature. So be on the lookout for more interviews or co-hosting episodes. And if you know somebody that you think I should reach out to, definitely let me know in the comments or the reviews. So as always, I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the podcast. Make sure you tune in and hit subscribe button on iTunes. Definitely leave a 5-star rating and an honest review. Let me and iTunes know that you're enjoying the show. Remember, build your dreams or somebody else will hire you to build theirs.
Thanks for listening to the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast. Join us next time for more great insights. And don't forget to subscribe to the email list to get the latest information and updates.